Hi, this is Brooke Fisher, and I'm in part one of my inclusivity project. I wanted to do kind of an introduction, Ariel, to show you what I do with my teachers, and then how I'm going to be sharing the materials. I really want to thank you for giving me this opportunity, because taking the materials in the inclusivity in this course, which I think are very rich and diverse, and being able to plug them into my life and my professional life that is so busy, but being able to utilize the materials from the class to benefit myself and my staff has been just this awesome opportunity. So I'm really, really grateful for that. So this class project for me is first of all to show you how I communicate with my teachers and how I've done some of that this fall. We didn't have as many staff meetings. We had a huge training that I helped put together this past year with the Jewish educators in Colorado. We had a huge statewide training, and I taught at that and helped a lot with that. And that was in August. And then because of all of the drama that had ensued, I kind of explained that. I didn't really get a chance to meet much with my staff until in December. Most of them were returning, and I had personal communications with them. But as a group, the December meeting was one of our first big staff meetings. So that was really, really nice. I'm super excited to be in that space with them now. So this is Evernote. This is what I use to communicate with my staff. Most of them like it. Some of them don't like it at all, but they're pretty good about it. So this work chat right here is how I just had an example here to share things that I learned from the course if something has come across. Think blocks was an idea that was shared in one of the articles in a way to share information. So we try to do things like chat stations, and I thought these think blocks would be great. They could also be great for reflection, like how did your morning go in what you've taught the students, like what kind of things added up for them. I love that as well. So here you've got two things, two examples of how I've shared with them. One was just sending them each a chat that said, hey, here's think blocks. And another one was quotes from the readings that I felt like were just really amazing. I liked that a lot. This was Lisa's response that she loved it. And this was a group chat sent to everyone. One thing that I wanted to share too about all of that is that an initial note, which I'll just take you into notebooks here. I want to make sure this isn't boring. Everybody has their own notebook. Inside of their notebooks, they've got a schedule for the week. They've got a list of students. Each schedule changes every single week because we don't have enough space in our facility for all the classes. So they're moving around. So transitions and understanding how that can work is part of what they're doing. Everybody gets, we use the 4 worlds as our way to identify curriculum, and so everybody gets ideas based on the 4 worlds and an explanation of their weekly of the theme. We do a Jewish value every single week for the entire school, and then model the curriculum after that, but in varying levels of challenge and knowledge, acquiring knowledge. So we've got that for the whole year, and the teachers go through. We've got camp days and all of these different things that we do as a school. You can kind of see this is Eric's class this year, and he's new. So there's a planning template for their lesson plans because they're due each week. Here was the professional development I did because we had planned to have a meeting in November. But this was based on the understanding of multiple intelligences that we did in the class in the beginning of the year. And I loved that so much. We didn't revisit this in this last meeting, but some of the teachers did this and went in and took the test and were able to read about for themselves and felt like it was enriching. So I'm excited about that. So if we go into notebooks here, we have professional development notebook. That's the initial trainings that we did for this last meeting. You can see that there are 4, building community, classroom spaces, sharing information, and class behavioral strategies. I included readings. The Wolfson reading is actually from my family's class, but it fit in so well with building community. So I basically explained and then went into some of the resources, either that I have found or that you provided in the in the area for the class, and then, or from other classes. And then each group of teachers, we divided into groups of 2 or 3 that day. Each group of teachers got one of these areas. They took them back, and then they were able to kind of put together their information, choose how they were going to share it with the rest of the staff. A couple things that were brilliant about this day were that I ordered lunch. I don't always do that, but I recognize this time that they're exhausted on a Sunday. It's basically like putting on a high power event every single time we have religious school. So lunch was great, and I ordered lunch the day before, so I didn't have to worry about it that morning because of my practicum, I am also teaching during the morning, which is exhilarating, exhausting. So here's the training. This was all in 12-9. Basically, the teachers went through and they talked about what they thought. They actually chose which one they felt like could best benefit them right now. And when they did that, they were able to meet with that group of teachers. So one reason that was awesome was because they were totally dialed into what they were learning. And we made a discussion that afterwards we would go through and I would send them each all of them so they could go through them on their own. Because it's a part-time job and they're in school or they have professional jobs throughout the week, I don't expect them to really get to that, even though I think they would have every intention to do it. So I need to try to create time. My hope is, if my budget will allow, about once a month for the rest of the semester to take and do this same type of training, and to add those trainings as part of this that I'm doing for you, part of this assignment, and that's what I'll be working on this week. So building community classroom spaces. I loved the thought of inclusivity. Our building is not really inclusive to all types of abilities. We are really working to be inclusive for all types of learners, but the upstairs classrooms, there's no way to get a wheelchair up there. And also some of our spaces are very old, and so I'm trying to find ways to make sure that they are accessible to everyone, and also too that they are enriching and creative, but not too overstimulating. Sharing information. This one was great. The second grade teacher actually ended up in this group, and she gave great knowledge because she has a teaching degree. But one thing I recognized that morning was the young teachers of the younger grades were like, "Hey, well, I could use sharing information, but not in this space. These ideas are too hard for my group." So I'll be adding that note. And then class behavioral strategies. What was interesting was the teachers that chose this were the teachers of the younger grades, except for the 4th grade teacher. And I love this video. It's the smart class people. I think they're so good. But he is talking kind of on a high school level. And what I recognized was that these teachers don't have a ton of experience. I mean, they have Jewish camp experience and religious school experience, but they've not been in a classroom or and they've not all taught even older grades. So for me looking at it, I thought, oh, well, you could definitely adapt this for the younger grades. And they were confused by that. They thought that they didn't know how to do that. And that was really good for me to see. So I'll also be adding class behavioral strategies with a note for older children and then for younger children. Another note I'm going to add is transitions. We talked about, because we have such a tight time schedule and we're trying so hard to make sure that it's a very meaningful and rich experience of Jewish learning in such a small window with moving around, that transition times and some strategies for that are needed. Another thing, so sharing information for the younger grades, class behavioral strategies for the younger grades. I think an inclusivity, just understanding ADHD and understanding, that's the one we see the most. Some sensory behavior, understanding that. Also, I'd like to find some information as I dig around for the teacher. I liked the one on multiple intelligences because I felt like that's also a personal growth. It definitely was for me. I learned a lot about myself. But also just the teacher being prepared and what the science is behind that. Like, they were shocked to see that building community, the research shows that if people feel connected and like valued, that they're there, and most people will respond well to that and want to come back. And that's almost more important than the information they're sharing. So that was really good. But right now, those are the things that I'm thinking. I'm going to increase this professional development notebook for this assignment this week and kind of look at that. And I will share part 2 soon. Thanks.